Hello, everyone. Welcome to the growth marketing course. And this is a 30-day growth marketing course where you will be getting 30 lessons. And Swati is here with me, and she will be learning growth marketing along with me. So she will be the student for the course. And you will be also going through the course together with us. So welcome, Swati.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Cool. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, really excited for this.
Great. We have a lot to cover, so we'll jump straight into it. And what I'll do is I have put up the lessons on Miro. That's the software that we are using. I'm going to share my screen and show you the lessons and the content, and then explain you all of these concepts. And we'll try to limit to one key concept a day so that you completely understand it. And feel free to ask any questions about that concept. Cool?
Sure.
Great.
Thank you.
So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. So these are all the lessons that we have designed for this course. We're going to start with lesson 1 so that we are able to define growth marketing before we even discuss like what are the differences between growth marketing and digital marketing, how the growth marketing process works, and we'll also discuss the mindset and frameworks as well as the tools that we use. So let's start with the definition first, because this is very important because different people define growth marketing in different ways. And I've seen lots of definitions online. So to put it all together, what I've done is I've looked at the key concepts in growth marketing and then compiled this definition so that it covers all of those concepts. Okay. So let me read it out so that you'll get an initial idea of what growth marketing is. So growth marketing is the process by which you test and find impactful and scalable ways to improve a focus metric through rapid experimentation while using as less resources as possible. So I'm going to expand on this now. So first of all, we are seeing that the keywords here are to test, right? To find impactful and scalable ways, scalable in the sense ways or methods that can be repeated. Unlike what some people might think that, the growth hacks specifically are short-lived and not very scalable. When we talk about growth marketing, we are talking about scale, right?
Okay.
These things should be able to be scaled through large data segments, customer segments, and also be repeatable, right? And the word process itself contains the word something that can be repeated, right? So you know the steps to be followed, and hence you can repeat it, not just for your own business, but also from one business to another, right? And the other keyword is focus metric. Now, this is important with growth marketing. What we do is we typically focus on one given metric, which we also call the North Star metric, right? So this is the North Star goal that your entire startup or business is moving towards. And I'll explain you how to set North Star goals as well in this course. But for now, it's important to understand that unlike digital marketing, where you have a lot of metrics, a lot of things to chase, a lot of goals, growth marketing focuses on one single metric at a time, right? And this is the reason why it's more suited for startups, right? More suited for, tech startups have adopted growth marketing a lot because with startups, you have less resources and you cannot focus on 100 metrics at the same time, right? Right. So that's the concept of having a focus metric. And what we do is, we do rapid experimentation to improve this focus metric. So let me give you an example. Let's say our focus metric is the conversion rate of a landing page, right? So all we are focused on is if 100 people come on the landing page, how many people are converting from the landing page? That's our focus metric. So we will run rapid experiments, usually in time periods of 1 week at a time, right? So we'll see what can we change this week to improve the number of people who convert on this landing page. Make that change, see how it works, come back the next week, see what can we change the next week to improve the conversion rate of the landing page. So these are rapid experiments and they are simple experiments, which means they don't use a lot of resources. Okay. And by resources, I mean people, time, money, those are different resources that you would need as part of marketing activities. right? So I think just to introduce to everyone, Swati has been working as a social media manager and a content marketing manager. So Swati, does this already feel different from what you do?
No, not really. Actually, it's very close to what I already do.
Nice, exactly.
So
So
yeah, this is making a lot of sense.
it's making a lot of sense because this is the kind of process that we've always followed in our agency as well. So Swati has been working with me for quite a while now. How long has it been, Swati? Almost a year, more than a year?
More than a year, yeah.
More than a year. And we follow these kinds of experimentation and focusing on specific metrics. Now, with regards to less resources, now is the time when there'll be some new terms for you, Swati. So, two new terms here will be lean and agile. These are not terms that we typically use, when we talk about social media or content marketing as such. But with growth marketing, these are very important terms, right? So, wanted to start with something that is familiar to everyone. People who are coming from a social media background or SEO background are all in line with this. But with lean and agile, these are two new terms because we've sort of borrowed these terms from techies. Okay, so this is not typical marketing terms; these are more technical terms, and we've borrowed it. So growth marketing sort of borrows a lot from tech. So it's also considered as an overlap between tech and marketing sometimes, right? So what
Oh,
is lean? Lean in now this term is part of the common vernacular as well, but basically it just means to use less resources. Okay, so if you can achieve the same output with lesser resources, go that path which needs less resources. And this is really important for startups because let's say if you're working for a big company, let's say we have a corporate B2B client, for example, they may not really care about going lean, but with a startup, it's really important to go lean on the resources, right? And the second thing is agile. Agile typically means that whenever you implement something, you go to the audience and get feedback as quickly as possible, right? So imagine two situations. One is where you're designing a digital marketing campaign, you brainstorm the campaign, you talk to the client, you get their inputs, you get their approval, you design the creatives, you design the copy. So you spend, let's say, 2 weeks on actually making that campaign happen, and then you run a campaign and it fails, right? That's not
mm-hmm.
agile. An agile would be to make a post, for example, tomorrow, in line with the same storytelling of that campaign and see how that post works, right? If that post works, then you can go and design the campaign because you already know that this kind of campaign could work for your audience. Does that make sense?
Right, yes.
Yeah. And this also applies to startups. So startups can build small features and then test them with the audience first before launching like a huge product and then failing. Right. So that's the agile aspect of it. Some people also use a term called MVP or minimum viable product, which is nothing but a part of the agile process. So I don't personally like that term a lot because you can just go agile and create as many versions as you want. But the first leanest minimum viable version that you make of any product is the MVP. Similarly, or the minimum viable product. Similarly, in marketing, you can make a minimum viable campaign before running the full campaign, which is sort of the MVC or the minimum viable campaign version of MVP, right? So just to recap,
Okay.
lean is when you're reducing the waste in your marketing process, and agile is when you're reaching the audience fast.
Okay, got it.
Is the difference between the terms clear? Because a lot of people get confused in the two terms.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
clear.
and you can see how it could be confusing because there are terms which are not in the marketing sort of dictionary, but they've been borrowed from tech. But they're very useful when it comes to growth marketing, particularly. So if we put all of these jargons together now in the definition, which I did not want to do in the first go, then this gets us to
Mhm.
the updated definition, which is growth marketing is the process by which you test and find impactful and scalable ways to reach your North Star metric through lean and agile experimentation, right?
Right.
If I would present this definition to you in the first time, it may not be that familiar, right?
That's
So that's
right.
the reason why we updated the definition together. And this I found like a good definition that includes all of the elements of growth marketing, right? Cool. Should we proceed?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Now, there are three examples here, and I know that you are also familiar with all three examples because you've been working with us. And but I want to show you how the North Star metrics for any company or any business can then translate to specific targets that you can set for your team when it comes to setting growth marketing goals or setting growth marketing targets. Because
Okay.
this entire course is only useful when you start off with a goal in mind, right? So let's say you have a goal that you want to learn growth marketing. Similarly, for your company, you might have a goal that I want to improve engagement rate for on my social media, or you might have an e-commerce client where you want to improve the conversion rate of their website, or you might have a mobile app where you want to improve the number of installs from the people who see the app listing page. So those are all like good goals to have, right? And here are three examples, and I'm going to walk you through those examples one by one of setting growth marketing goals, right? So the first goal, the first example is for a fashion e-commerce store. So let's say you have a client who has a fashion e-commerce store. The North Star metric, which is like the most important goal for this client, is to improve the return on their expenses, right? So let's say they're running Facebook ads or Google ads or spending on their marketing efforts, hiring a marketing team. They want to improve this return on the ad spend and also on the overall marketing spend. And we call this the ROM, or the return on marketing. And you know this from working with some of the clients that we do, right? Now, to improve this, we can then have a sort of a mini goal or a growth marketing target that we will double the conversion rate for this store from 1% to 2% in the next 6 months. Now, look at how we have mapped this, right? So to improve the return, there could be 100 things that you could do. But we found one most impactful way to do this by the leanest approach. Sorry. So the leanest approach would be, if I have a 1% conversion rate, and let's assume for a moment, which it is true, that this is low as per the industry standard. And if we get the conversion rate from 1% to 2%, let's see what happens on the user journey, right? So 100 people are coming on the, let's say, our product page, which is our landing page in this case. And out of those 100 people, one person is buying a product. But you're paying for those 100 people to come and visit the product page because you're running Facebook ads or Google ads or Instagram ads, right? Or TikTok ads. So what happens here is, if you're paying the same amount of money for those 100 people and now two people are buying from you, what happens is your return on expenses will double. So you'll have double the return on expenses because your conversion rate has doubled, right? So let's say you paid $1 per click on your ads. 100 people come on your page. How much did you spend? $100, right? And if one person converted, made a purchase of, let's say your average ticket size is $100. So they made a purchase of $100. So you spent $100 and eventually you got $100 back. So that's not a very good business to be running. But what happens if two people are converting? Now you spent $100 and got $200 back, right?
That's doubled.
That's doubled. Or if you spent $100 and your conversion rate is 3%, you got $300 back. So your return on investment has doubled just by improving your conversion rate, not even by changing anything on your ads or your creative or your copy. Those are all great ways too. But even without doing that, if you just focus on your website conversion rate and just make changes and small experiments on your website, you'll be able to get those results. Now, why is this a lean approach? Because you only have to change something on your landing page. You don't even have to go and spend more money on ads, right? I could have said spend more money on ads, but then would it lead to more sales and revenue? Yes. But would it lead to improving your return? Probably not. Right.
Can't say, yeah.
Exactly. Can't say. It could not. So that's one example of how we can map this goal to a real growth marketing goal. Now, the difference between these two is that the first goal is more of a business owner goal. Like the client can come to you and say, I want to do this. I want to improve my return on expenses. And the second goal is a more growth marketeer's goal. A growth marketeer can say, I will do this so that you can achieve this. Right?
Okay.
So, exactly.
Improving the ROM is basically a North Star metric. Is that right?
Correct. That's right. So the North Star is improving the ROM. And the growth goal is to double the conversion rate from 1% to 2%. The second goal, which you see, is also known as the OMTM, which stands for the one metric that matters. Okay, and that's the goal that the growth team sets. Right now, there could be other things that you do to improve the return on ad spend, of course, but in this case, we are just keeping it simple and saying that let's assume that we had to do only one thing for this client. Then this is what we would do for this business. So as a growth leader, there is a job title called growth lead or growth marketing manager. And this is what those people do. They will talk to the CEO / business owner / entrepreneur and then translate something that looks like this to something that looks like this. Right now, this is not very well defined. If I had to tell my marketing team, hey, go and improve this, right? It's not well defined. They said, they could say there are 100 ways to do this. But if I know that this is what I need to do, then I have given them, it's also a specific goal, right? So I know what's the current number, what number do we have to get to, and how much time it will take to get to that number. So I've given them a timeline as well. And also going from 1% to 2% is a very clear, specific numeric goal, right? So we want numbers associated with our goals when it comes to setting growth goals, which sometimes the entrepreneur might set for us, or they might just say, I just want to improve this. I'm not making money. I'm not making profits, let's say. And then we have to figure out what's that number at which they will make profits. Is it 3x at which they will make profits? Is it 3.5x? Is it 2.5x? So that's for us to figure out. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Let's go to the next example, which is, let's say you have a mobile app for consumers, and your North Star metric is to retain users who have installed the app. Like with EduPops, my startup, I'm thinking people are not retained that well. I want people to keep coming back on the app and stay on the app. So it's just, again, a North Star goal that I want to retain users on the app. But let's say I go to my growth marketing manager and say, hey, I want to retain users who have installed the app. Now, the growth marketing manager, by definition, is going to look for the most impactful ways using lean and agile methods to improve this goal and eventually come up with something like this. Improve the 7-day app retention rate to 25%. Right? Now, there is more insights behind this as to why this person has come up with these goals. But basically, it is shown that if people are retained on your mobile app for the first 7 days, then they are very likely to be retained for the first 30 days. And then they are very likely to be retained for the first 90 days. And eventually they will fall into that retained users category. And the first 7 days are the most critical, right? Now, as a digital marketer, you might focus on 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But as growth marketers, you want to keep it as short as possible. You just want to focus on the first 7 days, because the implementations that you can do for the first 7 days could be very different from things that you'll have to do for 30 days. That means you'll have to design a huge campaign for 30 days, and then it may or may not work. This is, again, a difference between how digital marketing works and how growth marketing works. In fact, most digital marketers don't even focus on retention, right? So they just focus on awareness and acquisition. And in day 2, we'll discuss like what are the different stages of the funnel. But this is sort of how you arrive at a growth goal. Another example is, because we run Maplinks, it's a marketing agency. So another example is from the agency, double the monthly revenue from the agency in the next 12 months. Now, this is a kind of goal that I can set for an agency that, let's say I'm making, $500,000 from the agency per year. For the next 12 months, I want to make $1 million. Let's say that's like just my goal. Now, for a growth marketer, that could be just thousands of things that you can do to do that, right? But they set a very clear goal that, let's say we have 2 retainer clients that pay us every month. Essentially, just go from 2 retainer clients to 4 retainer clients. So if you go from 2 clients to 4 clients, you're obviously assuming your average retainer stays the same. You are going to double your monthly revenue. And it's not hard to find 2 new clients in the next 12 months. So it's a very well thought of goal. That means you just have to close 1 client in 6 months. And in the next 12 months, you'll be making double the monthly revenue. So while something looks very Looks very hard to do. No, I want to get from 500,000 to 1 million. Looks very hard to do. But if you're making 500,000 from 2 retainer clients, which, hopefully everyone gets such clients, we don't, we usually don't find those kinds of clients. But if you do, then if you go from 2 retainer clients to 4, your revenue is double. It applies to the same of an agency who's making $5,000 and wants to go to $10,000, right? Let's say they have 2 clients paying them $2,500 a month each. They just have to get to 4 clients to get $10,000 in retainer. So this is a North Star, and this is finally your goal set by your growth marketeer, right? And now we know what goals are, right? So you also see how it applies to different business models. Any questions on this?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Cool. So the next thing is, how do you achieve these goals, right? So these are the goals that we have set. Then we see, okay, how do you achieve them? So there are 4 things that you'll have to build as a growth marketeer. And this entire course will be about building these 4. The first one is to build a mindset. So the way a growth marketeer thinks, you have to emulate that and change the way that you've been thinking. Now, I know that you already have built, to some extent, a growth marketing mindset, but for someone who's starting out from scratch, this could be a harder exercise. In my opinion, in my experience, you can learn the process quite easily. Like through this course, you'll be able to learn the entire process. You can develop a skill set through more practice and experimentation. And as you work with clients, or as you work on different projects or different businesses, you'll be able to find the right tools. But the mindset building takes a little bit of time, right?
Okay,
and those are like the 4 pillars of growth marketing, if I can put it that way. The first one is the mindset, the second one is the process, third one is the skill set, and the fourth one is the tool set, right? And notice that I've placed the tool set at the end because it's the least important. And most people are talking about which tool to use for growth hacking, which tool to use for growth marketing, but that's actually the least important, because if you have the right mindset, process, and skill set, you can just find tools very easily. It's not hard to find the right tools. Also, tools keep changing over time. Let's say you're using a specific application for A/B testing. Let's say you're using Google Optimize, which is a tool for A/B testing, and now Google is sunsetting that tool. It's not going to be available anymore. What do? Do you stop becoming a growth marketeer because Google is not going to have the Google Optimize tool? No, you use your skills, you use your process that you have to find another tool to do that, right? So tool set is the least important in my opinion. If Jasper is a tool, for example, we use for writing copy, right? If Jasper shuts down, we can use copy.ai. It's not a big deal. What I mean is the tools can change. So first is to build a mindset. And there are key elements which we have a separate lesson just for the mindset and a separate lesson for each of these. But then you have to build a process, which typically involves 4 different phases, which we'll deep dive into: research, ideate, experiment, and measure. Then you'll have to build a skill set. And there are 3 kinds of skills: the fundamental skills, the general skills, and the specialist skills. And finally, you have the tool set, which is based on the specific business case and the specific applications that you'll have to use it for. And those are the things that we'll cover in this course, so that you have everything that you need to actually achieve these kinds of goals that we've set for you as a growth marketeer. So that was all I had, Swati, for day 1. Let me know if you have any concluding notes or any questions.
Yeah. So just a question. Is it safe to assume that growth marketing in general is for startups and less for the bigger businesses, or is it like equally viable for both?
It is, in fact, something that bigger businesses get a lot of value from. And the reason is because, now, first thing we need to understand is it was built for startups, that's for sure. So the way that growth marketing works, or growth hacking is another thing that we use, and we'll explore the differences between the two, is that they follow all of these lean, agile methodologies, which are very good for startups. But if you look at it this way, if a corporate could achieve the same results that they are getting with 80% less resources that they're using, would they be happy, or would they be sad about it, right? They would be more than happy about it. And to back this up with my experience in data, I would say that I've worked with, big corporates. I've worked with the biggest food and beverage in the company in the world. I don't want to name them, but you know which company it is. and one of the biggest, skincare companies in the world. And they all adopted the growth hacking/growth marketing process that I shared with them to get to those results without using the same amount of resources. And corporates have been, following this, the way of the startup a lot. They've been training their teams to understand how MVPs work, how lean and agile methodologies work. Agile, in fact, is an approach which is well known in the corporate space. But even with growth hacking, I have been doing growth hacking trainings for corporates, as you know, for their teams. So they've been trying to adopt this because you can basically get to those same results by using these processes and creative methods. Then why not, right?
Great, interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. So, yep, that's all for today. And we'll see you all in the next lesson, which is the day 2 of the growth marketing course. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.